Kia ora koutou, day 19, and what I want you to think about today, and there's a video which goes into a lot of depth on this. It's quite an old one. The sound may not be that great because I filmed it by the sea. You get a nice sea view because it's not the camera's not trained on me, it's trained on the sea. So I hope you enjoy that. I find that relaxing. What I want you to do is to think about, how do you look at sex, and how do you look at love, and maybe also how do you look at relationships. Three things. Do you, in terms of abundance or scarcity, and in terms of them being common things or precious things, and in terms of them being kind of normal, mundane things, or seeing them as somehow sacred. Okay. So sex, love, relationships. How do you look at them in terms of scarcity versus abundance? Normal versus special, sacred, magical. I can't remember what the other one I said is. You get the gist. Okay, so what this is getting at, okay, I'm going to put my cards on the table, is that often people with retroactive jealousy see either sex or love or relationships or combinations thereof as something incredibly, it's like kind of, I don't know, unicorn poo, really. Fairy dust, gold from, I don't know, gold from the land of tin and og. We imbue lots of meaning into things. We're romantics, we're sentimental, we're nostalgic. So we sometimes distort things by seeing them in a way that is overblown with meaning. And therefore the poignancy becomes pain, if that kind of makes sense. I've done another video on this. I'll see if I can find a link to that, but I'll put a link to the seaside video about abundance versus scarcity. So that just talks about that side of it, but I want you to think more broadly than that. I want you to think about whether you see sex or love or relationships as something, maybe that's another way of saying it. Is it something that's easily obtainable, or very difficult to come by? Do you see, getting sex as something that's really hard? Is it like something very difficult to a commodity that's very difficult to obtain? Do you see relationships as something that's, that's easy come, easy go, relationships happen? Or do you see relationships as something, oh God, I wish I could be in a relationship. It's so hard for me to find someone. And the same with love, because you can be in a relationship, that is okay, but it's not love. Do you see love as something that's, that's readily available, or something that you've been searching for all your life that's very scarce, very rare? And again, all these things really, if we see them as scarce, precious, sacred, holy, magical, then we're going to invest, our thinking about them is going to become distorted, and we will expect other people to think in the same way. Okay, so people that don't have RJ don't think in the same way. So which is why people with RJ think, my partner says they never think about their exes, but I can't believe that, Whereas, we are the kind of types of people that ruminate about things, we think about things, we reflect on things, we probably do think about our exes, but they don't, okay, because they probably have a much more relaxed attitude to all those things, much more easy come, easy go attitude that, everyone has relationships, they come and go, everyone has sex, it comes and goes. Everyone kind of, experiences love, it comes and goes. So therefore they're not they're not constantly thinking about it. They're not trying to kind of cling on to it. They haven't got this kind of craving, kind of clingy, chasing, kind of attached attitude to those three things. Okay, I mean, these are kind of beliefs that people explore a lot around money and wealth. There's a lot of there's a lot of YouTube channels and books and stuff that are all about kind of attitudes around scarcity and abundance, but then they usually focus around money. But they also kind of they can be equally much, well, for us, retroactive jealousy is much more useful to look at how that relates to sex, relationship, and love, and the philosophy around the the kind of these beliefs about abundance and often kind of like the manifesting and things like The Secret and cosmic ordering and all that kind of thing. Some of the kind of theories around that are the things that we crave. We actually, by the very act of craving something, we reinforce in the mind the experience of not having, and we actually create even more of not having. So that's what they call kind of poverty consciousness, when you actually kind of push that away. Whereas the theory is that behind this kind of stuff is that if you have an easy attitude, you just expect you just see wealth as a normal thing, that there's plenty of, the chances are it will come to you more easily. Now, I'm not saying that theory is true. I have done a video on that, which is kind of very objective video, kind of, most of my videos are like that. They kind of, they're about exploring things very objectively, not kind of taking sides, looking at all the different arguments for and against, so that you, the viewer, can make up your mind. So I'm not trying to sell you that kind of belief system. But I'm just mentioning that by way of comparison, really. And I think there is something in it. I'll say that there's something in a poverty consciousness. There's a kind of an anal clenching kind of element to it, which kind of perpetuates lots of anxiety. And if we're very anxious and tense around things, then that doesn't really help us. It doesn't really help us to get anything. So for example, if you're very tense around relationships and you go on a date, you're probably going to, you might be so nervous, and you come across as as uptight or weird or something, and put your date off. So there's a very practical, pragmatic side to this as well. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to kind of sell you a more kind of new agey kind of theory around that. But yeah, think about that. And certainly on a practical level, this sense of sacredness, things being precious and special, and so your partner, you'll see that her or his or her love, you will mentally kind of chastise them. You'll be cross with them for kind of wasting their love and wasting their sex and wasting their their limited supply of relationships, and see that they've made kind of unwise choices, as if they've kind of thrown something valuable, thrown pearls before swine, kind of sacrifice something very special and valuable, and kind of tends to create that kind of, how could he have done that? How could he have gone out with that woman who is so horrible? Or how could he have gone out with that? How could he have had sex with somebody that he didn't know? How could she have had a relationship with somebody that's got a criminal record? How could she have, joined a motorbike gang and had sex with a biker? How could she have, all those kind of things? We see it's almost like we only get kind of so much kind of sex, and you only get so much kind of love, and you only get so many relationships, and that if you use them unwisely, it's like, oh, what a waste, I'll never get that back. So whereas if we see love, love, sex, relationships is something that's very free and very abundant, that puts a whole different complexion on it, and that kind of you know, there's a whole nicer feeling to that, you know, that somebody, you know, if your partner has explored sexually and romantically, that's, you know, that's a good thing, you know, because, you know, they've gone out in the world and they've done stuff and they've tried things and they've taken risks and they've thrown their heart over the fence, and sometimes they've been spontaneous and, you know, enjoyed the physical pleasures of the body, of the flesh, and that's all actually good, you know, that's good stuff. But we see it as, you know, somehow they've desecrated the temple. And that's the kind of thinking that we get into. So that's where I'm coming from with this one. Okay, so watch the video on abundance versus scarcity, and let me know what you think. Either by contacting me through the website, if you don't want to say it publicly. If you can put comments on the YouTube channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might be watching it on Patreon. You can comment on Patreon as well. But if you can put comments on the actual site where you saw the video, that's really helpful, because that means everybody else can, you know, benefit from your shared experience, and they can kind of join in the discussion. But you may want to, you know, be more discreet and private, which is completely understandable and absolutely fine. But thank you if you do. So anybody that likes this video, you know, clicks the like, thank you. Anybody that shares this video with you know, people that they know that are also suffering with attractive jealousy, thank you. Anybody that subscribes to the channel, that all helps. There's some stuff, it's taking me a while to do at the moment because I'm finding it quite hard to edit stuff at the moment. But usually I put some details on how you can help if you want to support this channel and the work that we do here. And there's lots that you can do to help us out, and we really appreciate that. But you don't have to do any of it because it's free world. So hope today's episode is helpful. Wishing you abundance of love, sex, romance, relationships, money, health, and all good things. Lots of love, Rangimarie.